Thank you very much. I know I am not very tall, so you can barely see me if I'm behind the panel. So I'll probably step aside a little bit. First of all, thank you very much to the Hellenic Association of Energy Economics and the Hellenic American Chamber of Commerce for the invitation. I'm really delighted to be here. The Indian Association of Energy Economics is actually yet to be born, but I'm based out of London, and I think the reason why it has been mentioned is because the whole idea of creating such an association was born at a discussion at a party after a conference in Athens at the Hellenic Association of Energy Economics. So without further ado, I don't have a presentation. I have heard a few things earlier in the morning today, so I'm going to kind of make some very brief points. I have about 5 points to make. Chairman, I assure you I will not take more than 6 minutes. But very quickly, I think, what have we heard today? We've heard that in the East Mediterranean region, or in this part of the world, the fossil intensity is greater than the average. So Southeastern Europe has a much higher fossil intensity of its energy sector than Western Europe, which immediately should trigger a thought that if that is the case, and if we heard what we heard today from the Deputy Minister of Energy and Environment in Greece, that there is going to be an accelerated program to reduce the fossil intensity, which I read as accelerated program for reduction of the capacity of the lignite assets to be replaced by gas-fired power generation assets, then I think we are in really exciting times. Second, there is what we have heard today is also the move towards greater projects of community interest. PCI projects and gas projects will make, I think, a very heady mix for discussion and actually for implementation. I will make a few points in that regard. And therefore, I think there are more reasons to be optimistic about a deeper decarbonization, a greater penetration of renewables and natural gas in the southeastern Mediterranean region. And therefore, while our chairman kind of started the conversation saying how many exchanges can this region bear, I would also like to ask the question saying how many projects can this region bear? Well, I think if what we heard today, if all of that were to actually happen, and bear in mind that the German Energy Wende program, which kind of has led to the Commission on Coal, it is progressing rather spectacularly slowly. Getting fossil-fired assets off the system is not as easy as it is about talking about them, I must say. So, I really hope that, we can actually make that transition happen in Europe. The 5 points that I will really want to make as far as the East Mediterranean region is concerned is first that we have to talk about the two large economies in the region, and I mean Egypt and Turkey, which are both large gas consuming countries. Egypt is also a gas producer and a consumer. And, I think the common factor amongst them is that, they are both price sensitive markets. So if we get the gas pricing for the region right, then I think, we can have sufficient growth in those two markets and also the other markets such as Greece and the wider southeastern European region to possibly justify each and every project that we have spoken about through the day today. But to make that happen, I think the second point I will make is that the liquidity and the pricing mechanisms to make it happen are absolutely critical. And therefore, the market integration and the design and the coordination that is required for those prices to reflect across the different exchanges, howsoever greater or smaller they be in number, Chairman, I think that is a more important point. The third point I would like to make is that, very recently we've done a fairly large study on small-scale LNG in the region. And small-scale LNG combined with bunkering is the link which will connect the existing large-scale LNG or the larger end of the LNG to the smaller small-scale LNG of the market. So I was quite impressed by the presentation that DEFSA gave earlier this morning, which I think possibly can become a game changer for the region. Because if the proposals of the Commission are right, that at least one large port in each member state will have to be enabled to generate a feeder mechanism for small scale LNG, then I think the addressable market for that for the region is actually or the, in terms of applications as well as geography, I think changes substantially. So I think the fourth point I will make is that about the linking of the exchanges, because if all of these projects were to actually happen, and I have no reason to believe why they will not happen, um, except for the fifth point, which is rather contentious, and I will still make it, is that, or rather, it is not as contentious as it is made out to be, because it is geopolitics, and for all the for all the material that we have seen coming in the public domain since the announcement of the East Mediterranean Forum in January this year, all the way to the announcement on the 5th of June, I think, by the government of Cyprus of the production sharing agreement being signed, to subsequent drill gunboat ship diplomacy that we have seen in the region. I think what is actually exciting is that Greece today, what we also heard announce, is the launch of the exploration program in the Greek market. So I'm open to take questions on. I think I have quite an independent perspective on these things, because I'm neither Greek nor Turkish, nor American nor English. So perhaps I can afford to be a little bit more provocative than others, but I do feel that geopolitics in this region actually is overrated. It is overrated because market pragmatism everywhere has actually worked. If I even read through the different announcements made by the Turkish government, I do not see any announcement or any statement which says that this is that we are going to stop this. I think it some of the latest projects in the region may well boil down to internal agreements of the revenue sharing formula between of the production sharing agreements. So it will come down to as simplistic or complex technicality as that, and not geopolitics. So I'm happy to take questions on all of the 5 points that I have spoken so far. Thank you.